narrow my thought because I'm just sort of all over the place sometimes. I'll talk about one thing, it'll lead me to somewhere else, and then boom, bam, I'm everywhere. So hopefully, in doing a podcast, I can help sort of refine how I think and how to sort of train my brain a little bit to stay on one subject, finish it out, and then move on to another one. I don't think that's an inherent thing. I think that's a trained thing because most people are this, kind of operate the same when it comes to certain stuff. So, anyways, grew up a latchkey kid. No supervision, and I just sort of carried that out through the rest of my life until I was 33. In and out of institutions, from a juvenile all the way up to that point. I think I counted it once, and it had to be 18 different jails and institutions, rehabs, drug rehabs, because I had a problem with methamphetamine from a young age. Not Ritalin. I was undiagnosed, but I was definitely ADD. I had a lot of incidences in school as a young kid. That mixed with a divorce, and then all these other things. Parents using me to get back at each other, or one of my parents would use me to get. You tug back and forth. So all of that, it was just, to me, it was like a perfect storm of things that were happening, and it was playing out in school. But back then they didn't know anything about ADD. They didn't know anything about how I was never good in school. I couldn't pay attention. It was not interesting to me. I was always against the grain from as long as I can remember. I'm not a conformist at all. So, they, to control me in school, they would wrap my desk up in corrugated paper so I couldn't communicate with anybody. They'd put me in closets, face my desk in a closet to, because I was just the class clown. I liked to be funny. I was always joking around, and I couldn't concentrate. So I was undiagnosed ADD, and when I took meth, I didn't realize this when I was younger, and I actually didn't realize it until I'd stopped doing it, which was in 2010. And about 2 years, no, not even 2 years, I'd say in the last 5 years, as I've been sort of diagnosing my life, my issues, why I've done some of the things that I've done, and tried to, connect dots here and there. I kind of realized that when I was doing meth, I would zone in and focus on something 100% and carry it out until completion. And my problem was, is I spent a lot of time as a kid trying to figure out how to get out of doing shit. So when I became an adult, I carried that out, and it made me, what's the word I'm looking for? It kind of, I focused a lot of my attention into criminal activities. And so, from selling drugs to doing white collar crime to carding, I was doing a lot of these things. And I would spend hours, like 3 days at a time, awake, working on something, go to sleep for a day, wake back up, eat, get high again, and start it all over until I completed whatever it was the task I was trying to to master. Whether it's hanging paper, if you don't know what that means, doing, fraudulent checks, making my own, to, credit card fraud. I was a part of something, and I've gotten in trouble for this, so I can talk about it. I would make credit cards, press them out, make our own designs for banks, and get stuff off the dark web. All the numbers are all available. If you go onto the dark web, you can buy credit card dumps, which are just basically numbers and everything that you need, and you can press out your own. I mean, it's probably gotten a lot harder, but this was sort of, I don't know, maybe not in the beginning of when that became something. I think it was kind of beginning middle-ish. But suffice it to say, it was all in an attempt to not have to be responsible. It was all in an attempt to not have to go and get a 9-to-5 job. It was, casting conformity. I didn't want to fit in that box. I've always been that way. And, which really makes me susceptible to conspiracy theories. And a lot of them aren't theories; they're actual conspiracies. Theory gets thrown on the end of it to make people, automatically assume crazy. Which a lot of this shit is true. If you listen to enough things and you do your own research, you can definitely get into the history that isn't being told about America and other facets of U.S. and world history, civilization, stuff like that. But like I said, that's another podcast. So, going through this journey, as a latchkey kid, I just continued it, through on until I was 33, and from selling drugs to, which I was convicted of, in 2005, I believe, is when I got sentenced. I believe, yeah, it was in 2005, and it was in Nevada, which in Las Vegas. I'd moved there. I bounced around a lot as a kid, between families. Before I got declared incorrigible, I spent time with my uncle. I spent time with my dad. He gave that a shot. Didn't work out. I just could not be contained. The latchkey kid. It just, when you don't have discipline as a child, and you don't understand that there are, in order to live in society, you have to kind of work within the framework, or it just, it doesn't work out. And when nobody's telling you that or showing you that, or, whatever it was with me, I don't know. I don't know exactly what the issue was. I have an idea, but I just know that not disciplining kids, not showing them how to be responsible, not teaching them how to be, members of society, is not probably the coolest thing to do. Like I see my daughter every day. I moved out and I got a place. Well, all right, let me back up again here. So, like I said, I keep making turns here while I'm trying to do one thing. Hopefully doesn't get too annoying, but like I said, I'm trying my best. So, latchkey kid, in and out of jails, institutions, rehabs. Probably went to like 3 different rehabs. Went to prison in 2004, or Got locked up in 2004. Excuse me, man. This cough is killing me. Got locked up in 2004 in Vegas. Went to and I had a state case for trafficking narcotics, and then I had a federal case because when I was out on OR on the state case, they released me. They charged me with five counts of trafficking methamphetamine because I sold to an undercover 5 times. Why they didn't just arrest me after the first one is, there's a reason, but it's a shady ass reason, that's for sure. You break the law once, you should be, they should arrest you then, not do it 4 more times just so they can stack the charges against you. And when you go to bail out, it's quadruple the price to get out. But since I didn't have a prior record, they let me out 3 days later on my own recognizance. And from that point on, I moved, and I was just like, you know what, fuck this. They're going to have to, catch me if you can. So I was just going to ride it till the wheels fell off. Moved, and like I said, those are probably most of this stuff. I'm not going to get too much into detail. Most of it, may come out in other podcasts that, if I get interviewed by somebody or I'm on someone else's podcast, maybe this will lead to that. I don't know. I just know from listening to other people's podcasts or ones that have just started, it just kind of, if you're interesting and you're talking about good shit, it's just going to eventually lead into you talking on other ones and vice versa. And that's what I'm hoping, at least. So got out in 2006, transferred back to my mom's, which is the Bay Area. I was born and raised in not San Francisco, but the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, in the east part of the Bay. And went back there, struggled, had PTSD, for sure, from being in prison. It is not a natural place to be. It's not a natural situation. It's a lot safer, I'd say, than county jail, but it's still, you can make one mistake and cause problems. I managed to get out without having to inflict too much violence on other people. When I was in county jail, I definitely had my share of fights and got jumped a few times. Realized that you couldn't just go in there and say, I'm going to mind my own business and do my time. It just doesn't work that way. At some point, you'll be confronted with the choice of, all right, well, who am I going to roll with? And for me, I grew up, if you look at me, I look straight up Hispanic or South American, definitely Latin. But since I've done my 23andMe, I found out that I'm actually 69% European, which would be Irish and German and maybe some Spanish. But I do not look it. Listening to me talk, you would automatically assume, oh yeah, this dude's a white dude for sure. But I don't look it. So in jail, or in prison, that's a conundrum, you could say, because the Mexicans, the nationals, they're called paisas. They're really small, and I'm a 6'1" dude. I weigh 235 at present, but back then I was probably like 220. I'm a pretty big dude, man. A decent sized linebacker. So of course, the Mexican nationals, the paisas, they wanted me on their side because a lot of them are really small. So, I'd be an asset to their army. And same with the Mexican gangbangers, the Sureños or the Norteños, just depending on whatever yard you landed on, they want me too. Same thing. A lot of them are real small. and some of the bigger guys, they want to